Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are staring down a topic that is so massive, so colorful, and honestly so uh, intimidating that I almost didn't know where to start reading.
I can imagine.
We are talking about Indian cuisine,
Hmm.
and I have to be honest with you, right out of the gate, before I started wading through this absolute mountain of notes and research you've brought to the table today, my mental model of Indian food was, well, is pretty standard.
Let me guess. It looked a lot like a takeout menu.
Exactly. It was a bowl of orange, creamy buttered chicken, maybe some garlic naan wrapped in foil, and a general, a vague sense of curry flavor.
Ah, yes. The yellow powder.
That yellow powder in the back of the pantry. But looking at what we have here, it seems like that perspective isn't just incomplete. It's actually kind of misleading.
It is the culinary equivalent of looking at the entire continent of Europe and saying, ah, yes, the land of pizza. It's far too narrow. And it's not your fault. That is the version of India that has been packaged and, exported to the West for the last 50 years. But if we are going to do this properly...
And looking at this stack, we're definitely doing this properly.
We are. So we need to take that mental image of Indian food as a single monolithic block and completely shatter it.
Shatter it. I like that. We're going full demolition mode today.
We have to, because the central thesis of the deep dive today is that there is actually no such thing as Indian cuisine in the singular sense. It doesn't exist.
No such thing.
Not really. What we call Indian food is actually a massive continent-scale network of distinct, sometimes contradictory cuisines.
So we shouldn't be thinking about it like food critics reviewing a menu.
No. The sources today suggest a different approach. We need to look at this ecosystem like biologists or maybe anthropologists.
I like that.
We need to understand how the monsoon rains, the soil chemistry, the ancient trade winds, and very specific religious ethics all collided to engineer one of the world's most complex flavor systems.
That biologist lens is what really hooked me in the reading. It frames the food not just as culture or tradition, but as a survival strategy.
That's the core of it.
Like, the food is the way it is because the environment literally forced it to be that way.
Precisely. Before a single spice is ground or a pot is heated, the climate has already decided what's going to be on your plate.
So let's start there. Let's put on our biologist hats. If we are looking at India as an ecosystem, what is the primary driver? What is the engine?
The engine is the monsoon. You cannot understand the food without understanding the rain and the heat.
Give us the context. I mean, we all know the word monsoon, but what does it really mean for daily life and for food?
Okay, so picture the geography. India is massive. You have the frozen Himalayas in the north, the arid Thar Desert in the west, you have tropical rainforests in the northeast, and thousands of miles of coastline. It's a huge landmass.
Incredibly diverse.
But for large parts of the country, for a significant chunk of the year, it is hot, and it is incredibly humid.
Right. And from a biological perspective, heat plus humidity is basically a petri dish.
Exactly. It is a crisis situation for food storage. In a pre-refrigeration world, which is, most of human history, heat and moisture mean rapid bacterial growth. Food spoils almost instantly.
Can't even imagine.
Milk goes off in hours. Meat rots. Grains get moldy. It's a constant battle against decay.
So the culinary culture didn't just stumble upon spices because they tasted nice. They were trying to solve a very serious preservation problem.
That is the leading anthropological theory. We tend to think of spices, cloves, cinnamon, turmeric, cardamom as flavor agents. We think, oh, I'll add this to make it taste fancy.
Or to add color.
Right? But historically, spices were an antimicrobial management system.
They were medicine.
They were preservatives. Turmeric is a potent antiseptic. Cloves contain eugenol, which kills bacteria. Garlic is antimicrobial. If you are living in a tropical climate without a fridge, coating your food in these compounds isn't a luxury. It's a way to ensure that dinner doesn't kill you.
That completely reframes the idea of a curry. It's not just a sauce. It's a safety mechanism.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. And you see this logic extending to cooking techniques as well. Take pickling, for instance.
Okay.
In the West, when we say pickles, we usually mean cucumbers in a vinegar brine, maybe a little dill. It's a side dish. A garnish.
Right, something you put on a burger.
In India, pickling a curry is a high-stakes survival art. It is a central pillar of the pantry. The sources describe how families would pickle everything. Mangoes, limes, chilies, vegetables, jackfruit, even meats in some regions.
Everything they could spoil.
Anything and everything. And it's not just vinegar, right? The notes mention oil.
Yes, the oil seal.
It's an oil seal. You use salt to draw out the moisture because moisture is the enemy. It's where bacteria thrives. And then you submerge the ingredient in oil and intense spices.
So the oil creates a barrier.
It creates an anaerobic environment where bacteria can't survive. This allowed communities to take the harvest from the monsoon season and store that nutrition through the scorching summer or the lean months. It was their refrigerator.
The other survival strategy that jumped out at me, which I usually associate with, hipsters making sourdough or kimchi, is fermentation.
Ah, yes.
I didn't realize how central fermentation was to Indian cooking until I saw the fermentation map in our research stack.
It is huge, and it is largely misunderstood outside of India. We often think of Indian food as cooked fresh, but especially in the South and East, fermentation is the bedrock.
Talk to us about the biology of that. Why would you ferment something in a hot country? It doesn't just go bad.
Well, the heat is actually your friend here. In a cold climate like Northern Europe, fermentation takes weeks. You have to keep it in a cellar.
Right.
In the tropical heat of South India, natural yeasts and bacteria are hyperactive. So the culture leaned into that. They developed these batters made of rice and lentils, the batter for idli and dosa.
And they just leave it out on the counter.
They grind it down with water and leave it on the counter overnight. The wild yeast in the air and the bacteria on the lentils go to work. They eat the sugars, they produce carbon dioxide.
It makes the batter fluffy.
Exactly. It gets light and airy. And they also produce lactic acid.
Which creates that sour taste.
Precisely. If you've ever had a really good dosa or idli, it has that distinct, tangy, slightly sour punch. That isn't lemon juice. That is the taste of the climate working on the ingredients.
And it's not just for flavor, is it?
Not at all. Biologically, this is brilliant because the fermentation breaks down the starches, making them easier to digest, and it multiplies the bioavailability of the vitamins. It essentially pre-digests the food for you. It turns a simple grain into a superfood.
It's amazing to think that what we consider a flavor profile is really just adaptation.
That's the whole story.
Okay, sticking with the geography for a second, I want to talk about the grain zones. This was one of the clearest visualizers in the research for me. If you're driving across India, the landscape changes, and the carb on your plate changes with it.
It dictates the entire texture of the meal, the entire architecture of the plate. If you look at the map, it's split into 3 broad belts.
Let's start in the north, where most of the familiar restaurant dishes come from.
The north and northwest states, like Punjab, Haryana, parts of Uttar Pradesh, this is the Indo-Gangetic plain. It's fertile, but crucial to our story, the winters are cool.
And wheat needs cool weather. You can't grow it in tropical heat.
Exactly. So this is wheat country. This is where the bread culture lives. If you are eating naan, roti, paratha, kulcha, all those amazing flatbreads, you are eating the agricultural output of the north.
And that influences how you eat, right? I mean, the physical mechanics of the meal.
Completely. The food in the north is designed to be scooped up. You have thicker gravies, drier vegetable dishes, all engineered to be grabbed by a piece of flatbread. The tandoor oven, which gives us naan, is native to this wheat belt.
It's a whole system built around bread.
A bread-based delivery system. But then you drive south or east, and the wheat just vanishes.
It disappears. You hit the heavy monsoon zones, the river deltas, the tropical coast.
Right. Wheat rots in standing water. But rice.
Rice loves it.
Rice loves it. So the bread disappears, and the staple becomes steamed rice.
And the gravies change, too. They have to.
They have to. You can't scoop up a thin, watery curry with a piece of bread. It falls apart. It's a mess.
Yeah.
But rice soaks up liquid beautifully. So in the rice belts, you get thinner, soupier curries like rasam or sambar that are meant to be mixed into the rice by hand.
It's form-following function. The carb dictates the curry.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a third zone that the notes call the dry interior. And this part was fascinating because it feels like it's describing the past and the future at the same time.
The millet zone. This covers parts of Rajasthan, the Deccan Plateau, the arid interiors. These are harsh lands.
Not a lot of rain.
Low rainfall, poor soil. Rice would die here. Wheat would struggle. So what grows?
Millets. I have to admit, I didn't know much about millets before this.
Okay.
Sorghum, pearl millet, finger millet.
These are incredibly tough, climate-resilient crops. Historically, they were looked down upon. They were considered peasant food or famine food.
Why?
They have a rougher texture. They are coarser. You make these dense, hearty flatbreads out of them, like bakri or rotla. They don't have the refined feel of a soft wheat roti.
But the notes say they were having a renaissance.
A massive one. Because of climate change and the water crisis, people are realizing that rice and wheat are water guzzlers. They're incredibly thirsty crops.
But millets aren't.
Millets sip water. They are sustainable. So suddenly, this poor man's food is becoming the superfood of the future. It's a great example of how the environment is forcing the cuisine to evolve again right in front of us.
So the grain sets the stage. But there was another map in this stack that I found even more specific and honestly something I had never considered. The fat map.
Ah, the fat map. This is my favorite way to visualize Indian diversity.
I never thought about oil having a geography. I just grabbed the vegetable oil from the cupboard. But in India, the cooking medium changes every few hundred miles.
And it changes the identity of the food. The fat is the carrier of flavor. It's the first thing that hits the pan. If you change the fat, you change the aroma foundation of the entire dish.
Walk us through this map, because the smells are totally different.
Okay, let's start north again. You have a heavy dairy culture, cows and buffaloes everywhere. So the gold standard, the fat of choice for celebration and flavor, is ghee.
Clarified butter.
Yes, it has that nutty, rich animal fat solvency. It coats the tongue. It screams luxury and comfort. That is the smell of a North Indian kitchen.
Okay, now move east to Bengal.
You hit the mustard belt. Now, have you ever smelled raw mustard oil?
I haven't. I don't think so.
It is intense. It has a pungent sinus-clearing kick, almost like wasabi or horseradish. It hits you right in the nose.
Wow.
In the West, we'd think it's gone bad. But in Bengali cooking, they heat it until it smokes, literally smoking hot, which changes the chemical structure. It becomes sweet and nutty. You cannot make authentic Bengali fish curry without that specific mustard oil punch.
And the south, what's the fat there?
You're in the tropics. Look at the trees.
Coconut palms.
Coconut palms. So they cook with coconut oil. It gives the food a distinct, aromatic, sweet, tropical scent. It feels lighter, floral almost, completely different from the heavy ghee of the north.
And then west.
Into Gujarat or Maharashtra, and you find peanut oil or sesame oil. It's nutty. It's earthy.
It's incredible. You could literally blindfold someone, fly them into a random Indian state, walk them into a kitchen, and just by smelling the heating oil, they could tell you where they are.
Absolutely. The fat tells you the geography, and that connects to the contrast between the coastal and inland cuisines.
Yeah.
If you are on the coast, Goa, Kerala, Odisha, the ocean dictates the diet. It's fish-heavy, it uses coconut milk, and it uses sharp, fast souring agents. The food is often lighter, faster to cook.
Versus the inland.
Which is heavier. Inland cuisines rely more on preserved vegetables, lentils, and dairy. The cooking times are longer. You're building complex, slow-cooked gravies because you don't have the fresh catch of the day coming in from the boats. You are relying on the harvest in the pantry.
So we have the biology, the ecology, and the geography setting the stage. We know why the ingredients are there. But India is also a civilization with thousands of years of recorded history. The notes describe the cuisine as having historical layers, almost like geological strata.
It's like an archaeological dig. You can peel back the layers of a single dish and see different centuries, different empires, different gods.
Let's start at the bottom, the bedrock, the agricultural foundation.
The deepest root of the system is the legume-grain pairing. We talked about rice and wheat, but the partner to both of those is the lentil, dal.
Dal is everywhere, in every single region.
It is the lifeblood. And biologically, this is fascinating. Grains like rice or wheat are incomplete proteins. They are missing an essential amino acid called lysine.
Okay.
Lentils are also incomplete proteins. They are missing methionine.
But put them together.
They lock together like puzzle pieces to form a complete protein profile, just like meat. This is the vegetarian survival strategy. This combination allowed a massive population to thrive on a largely vegetarian diet for millennia without suffering from malnutrition. That is the nutritional bedrock of the civilization. Dal roti, dal chawal. It's not just a meal, it's a science.
Okay, so that's the foundation. Let's move up to layer one. The notes call this ancient trade in the spice routes. I think we often have this idea that globalization is a modern thing. Like, we have the internet, so now we are connected.
Not at all.
But India was the hub of the world 2,000 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. India was never isolated. It was the engine room of the ancient economy. The Romans were obsessed with Indian pepper. They called it black gold.
I read in the notes that Pliny the Elder, the Roman author, actually wrote a complaint about this.
He did. He was complaining that Rome was draining its treasury, sending millions of sesterces of gold to India every year just to buy pepper and spices. He thought it was destroying the Roman economy.
That is wild. Just for pepper.
Just for pepper. And because of this trade, the coastal regions, especially Kerala on the Malabar coast, became incredibly incredible cosmopolitan way before the rest of the world. You had Arab traders, Jewish communities, Romans, Southeast Asians, all docking in these ports.
And bringing their influences.
They brought new ingredients, new techniques. This is why you see Syrian Christian stews in Kerala or Arab-influenced flatbreads. Spices weren't just being grown, they were being engineered for long-distance travel.
Then comes layer 2, and I think this is the big one for our listeners, because this is the layer that dominates the Indian restaurant perception globally. The Islamic Sultanates and the Mughal Empire.
This is the aha moment. The Mughal Empire, arriving from Central Asia in the 16th century, brought a Persian-influenced dining culture to North India. They didn't just bring recipes, they brought a philosophy of high cuisine.
These were the royal courts. This wasn't everyday food.
Exactly. This wasn't peasant food. This was palace food. This was for kings. They introduced the tandoor oven as we know it. They introduced dum cooking, that technique where you seal a heavy pot with dough and slow cook it over coals for hours.
So all that flavor gets trapped inside.
Trapped inside. And the ingredients changed.
How so?
Drastically. They brought the use of dried fruits and nuts, cashews, almonds, raisins, pistachios, and put them into savory meat dishes.
Which feels very Central Asian.
Very Persian.
Yeah.
And they brought cream and yogurt in gravies.
The rich gravies.
The heavy, dairy-enriched, luxurious sauces. If you are eating a biryani, a korma, a nihari, or a kebab, you are eating the legacy of the Mughal courts. It is delicious, it is refined, it is opulent.
But it's not the whole story.
But we have to remember, it is just one layer of the history, primarily in the north.
It's funny because that layer is what dominates the global perception. If you go to an Indian restaurant in London or New York, you are basically eating Mughal court food.
Correct. But while the Mughals were refining meat dishes in the north, something totally different was happening in the south. Layer 3, the temple systems.
The counter-narrative.
This is the counter-narrative. The great Hindu temples of the south, places like Tirupati or Madurai, were like factories for vegetarian food. We are talking about massive kitchens feeding thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of pilgrims every single day.
For free.
For free. This is where the strict purity codes come in, right?
Yes, tell me about that.
This food is prasadam, an offering to the deity, which is then shared with the people. It required absolute precision and purity, no meat, obviously, but often no onion or garlic either.
Wait. No onion or garlic? I thought that was the base of everything, the Holy Trinity.
In the Ayurvedic tradition, onion and garlic are considered tamasic and rajasic. They are heating, stimulating ingredients that can inflame the senses and, distract from meditation.
So they're seen as too worldly.
Something like that. Too agitating. So the temple cooks had to create flavor without the Holy Trinity.
How do you make flavor without onion and garlic? That seems impossible.
Ingenuity. They used asafoetida hing. It's a dried resin that, when cooked in hot fat, mimics the savory umami flavor of onions and garlic. It's a culinary magic trick.
Wow.
And they used cumin, mustard seeds, curry leaves, tamarind, black pepper. This is where dishes like sambar and rasam were standardized. It's pure, focused, vegetable-forward cooking.
Okay, now we get to layer 4. And honestly, reading the notes, this was the biggest shocker for me in the entire document. The Columbian Exchange.
The Portuguese shock.
I'm just going to say it, and I need you to confirm I'm not crazy. Chili peppers are not native to India.
It stops people in their tracks every time.
It breaks my brain. When I think Indian food, I think heat. I think red chili powder. I think green chilies floating in the sauce. But you're saying they didn't exist there until the 16th century.
Correct. Chilies, tomatoes, potatoes, cashews, peanuts, guava, papaya, all from the Americas.
Potatoes, too. No aloo gobi.
No aloo gobi. They were brought to India by the Portuguese, who established a colony in Goa. Before the 1600s, there was no red chili powder in the entire subcontinent. No green chilies in the curry.
How was the food spicy before that? It must have been spicy.
It was spicy, but differently. The heat came from black pepper and long pepper patali, which is a related vine, and ginger, and mustard seeds.
What's the difference in the heat? It can't be the same.
It's a completely different sensation. Imagine biting into a peppercorn. It hits the back of your throat. It's pungent. It's earthy. It's a slow burn that kind of warms you from the inside.
Okay.
Now imagine biting a green chili.
It hits your tongue immediately. It's sharp.
It hits the tongue. It's sharp. It's aggressive. It makes you sweat immediately. It's a different chemical reaction. Capsaicin versus piperine.
It's a different chemical reaction.
Totally. It was a revolution. And the reason the chili took over so completely is economics.
How so?
Black pepper is a finicky vine. It takes a long time to grow. It needs shade and humidity. It's high maintenance. Chilies, they are weeds. You can grow them anywhere. They are cheap, easy to dry, and incredibly potent.
So they democratized heat.
They democratize heat. Exactly. Suddenly, everyone could afford to make their food intensely spicy.
And specifically in Goa, the Portuguese left an even deeper mark.
Right. Think of vindaloo. That is a staple of every British Indian curry house.
Yeah.
But the name comes from the Portuguese dish carne de vinha d'alhos.
Meat in wine and garlic.
Meat marinated in wine vinegar and garlic. Vinha meaning wine vinegar, alhos meaning garlic.
Got it.
Exactly. The local Goan cooks adapted it. They didn't have wine vinegar, so they used palm vinegar made from the sap of the coconut tree. They added their local spices and plenty of those new red chilies, and it became vindaloo.
And they also brought pork.
It's also why Goa has a strong pork tradition, which is rare in the rest of India, where you have Hindu and Muslim populations that largely avoid it.
It's amazing how these layers just stack up. You have the ancient lentils, the trade route spices, the Mughal cream, the temple purity, and then the Portuguese chili explosion.
It's not one history, it's 5 histories in a trench coat.
That is a perfect way to put it. And that brings us to the cultural role of food, because all of this history isn't just sitting in a museum, it's being eaten every day. And in India, food is not just infrastructure for the body, it's infrastructure for society.
Deeply.
The notes mention the concept of dharma. Duty.
Food is duty. There's a Sanskrit phrase you hear often, Atithi Devo Bhava, the guest is equivalent to God. Hospitality isn't just being nice, it's a moral imperative. If you visit an Indian home, you will be fed.
It's not optional.
No, it's not a question of, are you hungry? It's an assumption. The immediate offering of water, the snacks, the insistence that you stay for dinner, the piling of food onto your plate, even when you say you're full, that is a ritual.
I've heard that refusing food can actually be quite tricky socially.
It is complex. Food is affection. Food is care. To refuse it can be seen as rejecting that relationship, rejecting that person's affection. In a culture that values community over the individual, sharing food is the ultimate social glue.
And the structure of the meals reflects that. We have the daily meal versus the celebration meal.
Yes, a very clear distinction. The daily meal is highly structured. It's logical. It's usually a thali format, a round plate with small bowls.
Right.
You have a grain, a lentil, a vegetable, a pickle, yogurt. It balances nutrition and flavor. It's economical and seasonal. It's about sustenance and balance. But the celebration meal, that's theater.
That's when the heavy hitters come out.
Weddings, festivals like Diwali or Eid, that's when you see the richer gravies, the deep-fried foods, the abundance of sweets. It signals status, generosity, and auspiciousness. You wouldn't eat butter chicken every day at home. That's party food. That's wedding food.
We also have to talk about religion, because in India, your faith often dictates your menu.
Deeply. The Hindu tradition generally pushes towards vegetarianism, rooted in ahimsa or nonviolence. But even within that, there are variations. Some eat fish, some don't, some eat eggs. It's not a monolith.
Right.
Then you have the Muslim tradition, which has kept the meat traditions alive, halal laws, glorious kebabs, slow-cooked stews like halim or nihari.
And the Jain tradition, which I found fascinating, they take vegetarianism to a completely different level.
Jain dietary laws are incredibly strict. It's one of the most rigorous forms of nonviolence in diet on the planet.
So total vegetarianism.
Total vegetarianism, but also the avoidance of root vegetables like potatoes, onions, garlic, carrots, ginger.
Why root vegetables? What's the logic there?
It goes back to nonviolence. If you pull up a root vegetable, you kill the entire plant. Plus, the root is considered the storehouse of microorganisms of life.
So it's about minimizing harm.
To avoid violence to any living being, however microscopic, they eat what grows above ground. Fruits, beans, greens, gourds.
It forces a specific kind of culinary ingenuity.
It does. Jain cuisine is famous for being incredibly flavorful despite these restrictions. They use spices masterfully to compensate for the lack of aromatics. They use things like raw banana instead of potato.
And then the Sikh tradition with the langar.
The langar is beautiful. It's the community kitchen found in every gurdwara, every Sikh temple. They serve free vegetarian meals to anyone who walks in.
Anyone at all.
Rich, poor, any caste, any religion, any gender, doesn't matter.
And everyone sits on the floor together.
That is the crucial part. You sit in lines, pangat on the floor, the millionaire sits next to the beggar. You eat the same simple lentils and bread. It is food as a tool for radical equality. It dismantles social hierarchy through the act of eating together.
It's really powerful stuff. It shows that food is never just calories. Okay, we have the history, we have the culture. Now, I want to take this regional tour. The notes call this a discontinuous cuisine.
I love the term.
Meaning you move a few hundred miles and everything breaks and resets.
Let's drive the map. We've touched on the North, Punjab, Delhi, Kashmir. This is the land of wheat and dairy.
Right.
The tandoor oven is king here. The flavors are rich, warming, slow cooked.
Give me a dish that defines it. A quintessential northern dish.
Dal makhani, black lentils cooked overnight on the slow embers of the tandoor, finished with butter and cream. It is smoky, creamy, heavy comfort food. Or Rogan Josh from Kashmir, a brilliant red lamb curry flavored with dried ginger and fennel, no onion or garlic in the traditional version.
Then we swing south. Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra, Karnataka.
Total shift. The grain is rice, the fat is coconut, the souring agent is tamarind, which gives a sharp, fruity, tangy punch.
Yes.
And the key aromatics are curry leaves and mustard seeds.
And the heat, it can be intense.
Oh, yeah. The notes mention Andhra cuisine specifically.
They do.
Andhra food is notoriously spicy, but it's a bright heat, often carried by green chilies. A classic dish would be gangura mutton meat cooked with sorrel leaves, which are incredibly sour. It's sour, spicy, and rich all at once.
It's a completely different sensation than the warming spice of the north.
Completely different. Or from Kerala, the ishtua gentle stew made with coconut milk, ginger, and vegetables, perfumed with green cardamom and cloves. So delicate.
I love that distinction. North is warming, south is bright and tangy. Now, the west seems like a land of contrasts. You have Gujarat and Rajasthan side by side.
And they could not be more different. Rajasthan is the desert. Historically, they had very few fresh vegetables and limited water. Their cuisine evolved around preserved foods.
Right, survivalist food.
They used dried lentils, dried beans, dried berries.
And they cook with milk.
Yeah.
Instead of water.
They often use milk or buttermilk instead of water to cook because water was too precious. A classic dish is kersangri, a stir-fry of desert berries and beans, or delbati churma hard wheat balls baked over coals, soaked in ghee, and served with lentils. It's robust.
Then right next door in Gujarat.
You have a cuisine famous for one specific trait: sweetness.
Sweetness in dinner. That's unusual for a lot of people.
Yes, a subtle interplay of sweet and savory. They often add a little jaggery, unrefined sugar to their vegetable curries and dals. It creates a very unique, some would say polarizing flavor profile.
But it's balanced.
It's incredibly balanced. It's arguably the most complex vegetarian cuisine in the world. The Gujarati thali is a masterpiece of texture and balance.
Then we go east. Bengal, Odisha.
The river deltas. This is fish country. Freshwater fish, specifically carp, rohu, hilsa, and the mustard oil we talked about.
The pungent oil.
The pungent oil. The flavors here are often more subtle, more aromatic. They use a spice blend called Panchphoron 5 whole spices, cumin, brown mustard, fenugreek, nigella, and fennel. You toss it in the hot oil, and it just blooms.
And sweets. Those are very clear about this.
Oh, the sweets. Bengali sweets are legendary. They are based on chena-fresh cheese curds, rasgulla, cheese balls and syrup, sandesh. It's a dairy-based dessert culture that is unparalleled.
And finally, the region that the notes call the outlier. The Northeast, Assam, Nagaland, Meghalaya.
This is the region that most people, even many Indians, know the least about. If you dropped a North Indian into a home in Nagaland for dinner, they might not recognize the food at all.
Why is it so different?
This region is mountainous, rainy, and culturally closer to Southeast Asia or China.
So they don't use the heavy powdered masalas of the mainland.
Very little.
Right.
Instead, fermentation is king.
Yeah.
Fermented bamboo shoots, fermented soybeans called akuni, smoked meats. They eat pork and beef freely.
What's the flavor profile?
Earthy, smoky, pungent, and clean. They rely on incredibly hot chilies like the buchalokia or ghost pepper for heat, but they don't use the heavy oil and spice powders of Delhi. A classic dish might be pork with bamboo shoots. It is a completely different culinary branch.
It really emphasizes that continent scale idea. You can't summarize this with one word. So if the ingredients and regions are so different, is there anything that ties it all together? Is there a shared flavor mechanics?
There is. There is a unifying philosophy, and it starts with the concept of the six tastes.
6. Okay, in the West, we usually talk about salty, sweet, sour, bitter, maybe umami.
In the Ayurvedic framework, the 6 are sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, which is heat spiciness, and astringent.
Astringent, that's a tough one to define. What does that taste like?
Think of the drying sensation you get from very strong black tea or the skin of an unripe banana or raw turmeric. It puckers the mouth, it cleans the palate.
Oh, see.
The philosophy is that a balanced meal at proper thali should trigger all 6 tastes.
Why all 6? What's the purpose?
The idea is that if you hit all 6 tastes, the body feels completely satisfied. You don't have cravings afterwards because you've stimulated the entire palate. You haven't just eaten salt and fat, you've eaten a spectrum.
That's fascinating. So it's not about hitting you with just intensity. It's about covering the bases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the way they build that flavor is through the orchestra of cooking, specifically the technique of layering.
Right. You don't just dump everything in the pot.
Never. It's a sequence. It's a story.
Walk us through the sequence of a generic curry.
Okay. Step 1, heat the oil or ghee. Step 2, whole spices, things like cumin seeds, a cinnamon stick, a few cloves. They sizzle and bloom and infuse the oil with their aroma.
So the foundation is aromatic.
Foundation is aromatic. Step 3, the main aromatics, usually onions. You cook them until they brown. That's the Maillard reaction, developing sweetness and depth.
Then ginger and garlic.
Ginger and garlic pastes cooked until the raw smell is gone. Step 5, powdered spices, turmeric, coriander, chili. You toast them for a minute to wake them up. Step 6, the main ingredient, vegetables or meat. And finally, step 7, the liquid, like water, stock, or tomatoes.
It's a narrative arc of flavor.
It is, and there is one technique that the notes highlight as the defining technique of Indian cooking: tadka or tempering.
Tadka. I love this concept. It sounds so dramatic.
This is the heartbeat. It is the act of heating oil or ghee in a small ladle until it is shimmering hot and then tossing in whole spices, mustard seeds, dried red chilies, curry leaves, maybe some cumin or asafoetida.
And they pop, right?
They sizzle, they pop, they release this massive explosion of aroma, and you pour that hot, perfumed oil over the finished dish right at the end.
So it's final flourish.
You hear that chaha sound, that smell, that is the signature. It adds texture, aroma, and a final hit of fresh spice. It transforms a boring boiled lentil dish into something alive.
I can almost smell it. The other mechanic that stood out to me was the souring agents. I feel like when I cook curry at home, I just add heat, but I'm missing the sour.
That is the most common mistake for beginners. Souring agents are the unsung heroes. They provide the balance. If you have richness from fat and heat from chilies, you need acid to cut through it and brighten everything up.
But it's not just lemon juice.
Rarely. In the South, it's tamarind, that deep, fruity, molasses-like sourness. In the North, it's often Amchur dried green mango powder, which is tart and fruity.
Oh, interesting.
On the West Coast, they use kokum, a dried fruit that gives a pinkish hue and a sharp tang. In the North, yogurt provides that lactic sourness. Without that sour note, the food feels flat and heavy.
So it's about that balance.
Yeah.
And the masala base connects to that. It's described here as a modular system.
Right. Unlike French cuisine, which has its specific mother sauces, Indian cooking often starts with a base of onion, ginger, and garlic. You saute that down, add your spices, and you have a masala. From that one base, you can branch out. Add chickpeas, you have chole. Add paneer, you have paneer masala. Add chicken, you have chicken curry. It's a highly efficient, modular way of cooking. You master the base, and you can make a dozen different dishes.
Let's zoom in on the actual building blocks now.
Yeah.
Segment 6, core ingredients. We've mentioned the Trinity onion, ginger, garlic, but I want to talk about the protein ecosystem, specifically dal.
Dal. It is the lifeblood of the Indian diet. And dal is a confusing word because it refers to the raw ingredient, the lentil or split pea, the cooked dish, the soup, and the entire category of food.
And there are so many kinds, the colors alone.
Dozens. Tur dal, pigeon pea, is yellow, nutty, and the standard for sambar. Moong dal, yellow split gram, is creamy and easy to digest, often given to people recovering from illness.
Okay.
Masoor, red lentil, cooks fast and turns golden. Urad, black gram, is rich, a bit slimy in a good way, and is the base for dishes like dal makhani and also for dosa and idli batter.
The fermentation engine.
The fermentation engine, right. And chana dal, split chickpeas, is meaty and holds its shape. Each one has a different texture and purpose.
And going back to our biology, theme legumes combined with grains provide that complete protein.
Exactly. It's the engine of nutrition.
And dairy. We touched on ghee, but dairy plays other roles too.
Dairy is a shapeshifter in Indian cuisine. It's fat, ghee. It's protein, paneer, a fresh, non-melting cheese that acts like a sponge for sauces.
I love paneer.
And it's a marinade and tenderizer, yogurt. The lactic acid in yogurt breaks down meat fibers, which is why tandoori chicken is so tender. And finally, sweet's milk is boiled down for hours to make koya, a semi-solid dairy base for many desserts.
And finally, the spices. The notes make a very important distinction between whole spices and ground spices. This seems key.
Yes, this is crucial. Whole spices, cinnamon sticks, cloves, cardamom pods, bay leaves are usually added at the beginning to flavor the oil. You generally don't eat them, you push them to the side of the plate. They provide the background aroma.
The base notes.
The base notes. Ground spices, turmeric, coriander powder, cumin powder are added later to create the body and the sauce. They are the melody.
And just to clarify for everyone listening one last time, because we have to kill this myth, curry powder is not a thing in India, is it?
No. No. Curry powder is a British invention. It was created for British sailors and colonial officers who wanted to take the taste of India back home, but didn't know how to blend spices.
So the shortcut.
It's a standardized mix, usually heavy on turmeric for that yellow color. In India, every home has a masala dabba, a round spice box with small bowls inside containing individual spices. The cook blends them fresh for every dish. There is no generic curry flavor.
So we've traveled from the monsoon rains to the ancient trade routes, through the royal courts and the village temples. We've seen how geography dictates the grain and how history layered the flavors.
We have seen that Indian cuisine is not a monolith. It is a massive, complex, diverse ecosystem, a conversation between history and geography on a plate.
So what does this all mean for us, for the listener who's maybe thinking about ordering Indian food tonight or trying to cook it?
It means you can be more adventurous. Don't just order the butter chicken or the korma.
Look past the first page of the menu.
Exactly. If you see a dish with chetnad in the name, know that it's from the south. It'll be aromatic with black pepper and fennel. If you see vindaloo, know that it's goan and vinegary and spicy. If you see mustard fish, you're going to Bengal.
Use the geography to guide the order.
Exactly. Look for the regional markers. Ask yourself, what is the fat? What is the grain? What is the souring agent? Those 3 clues will tell you almost everything you need to know about where that dish comes from.
And I want to leave the listeners with this final thought from the notes, which I think is beautiful. It compares Western dining philosophy to Indian.
Yes. This is a profound difference. In Western cuisine, think of a plated dinner at a nice restaurant. We often aim for harmony within the dish.
Okay.
The steak, the sauce, the vegetable, the puree, they must all work together perfectly in that one forkful. The chef constructs the perfect bite for you.
Right, it's pre-balanced.
But in Indian cuisine, especially with the thali, the harmony is across the table. You have a bowl of hot, spicy curry. Next to it, cooling yogurt, the raita. Next to that, a bitter pickle. Next to that, a sweet chutney. Next to that, a bland rice or bread to be the canvas.
The balance isn't in the single bowl.
No, it's in the interplay between all the bowls. You, the eater, create the harmony by mixing and matching as you eat. You decide if you want more heat in this bite or more cooling in the next.
You are the conductor of the orchestra.
You are, and that makes eating an active, engaging, and incredibly dynamic experience. You're not a passive recipient of flavor. You're an active participant in creating it.
I love that. I am definitely hungry, and I am definitely not ordering the usual tonight. Thank you so much for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
And thank you for listening. Go explore the ecosystem. We'll see you on the next deep dive.